Hey everyone, Marty here with Marty Knows Baking. So I said that I had a video about making a starter, but I couldn't find it. So I used to have a video. So today I'm going to teach you how to start your sourdough starter. Welcome. Today I'm going to show you how to make a sourdough starter. It's great for bread, but you can find all sorts of wonderful things to do with sourdough starter. I have a friend that is the Prairie Mom and her sister who are experts on all things sourdough, and they add it to all sorts of things like a banana nut bread, and it just adds a little something to it. But I'm pretty much just the bread person, and today I'm going to show you how. And it does not have to be complicated. In fact, it isn't complicated at all. You need flour, milk, yeast, and sugar. The yeast is your secret weapon because it's going to give it a kickstart and get that fermentation going, and then it'll go all by itself, and you can have the starter for years. So it's a 7-day process, but you're only going to do work today. Let's get to it. All right, space is a little tight, but I'll try to stay out of the frame as much as I can. These are the things that you'll need: milk, sugar, flour, and yeast. My yeast is actually in this jar. I buy it in this big brick, which is $3. This is equivalent to, I believe, 64 of those little packets. If you're using the little packets, you're going to use one of those in this mixture. So everything you always do when it comes to sourdough starter is going to be in these same proportions. I got out a cup and then I didn't do it. So it's always going to be, whether you're feeding it on a weekly 7 to 10 day basis or you're starting it from scratch, it's always 1 unit of milk, 1 unit of flour, and 1/2 unit of sugar. The yeast is a one-time thing. You're adding the yeast just this time. But because we're getting it started, you want to start with 2 cups of flour, 2 cups of milk, 1 cup of sugar. This is a 1/2 cup. We're going to mix this up with a non-metal spoon. These are the instructions from the Farmer's Almanac on how to make this. And they have others too. One is just flour and water. I have that one also. I started them at the same time. It's harder to get going. This one is almost no work at all. So even if you're going to make, you're like, oh, I would like to make rolls for Christmas or Thanksgiving or whatever, this is not a hard starter to get going. You just have to give yourself a week to get it going. And then you can actually, like, to do it one time is not even a bad thing. Like, if you always have a week ahead, you can do this. It takes however long this video takes. I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of yeast, or it would be 1 of those packets of yeast. They usually come in 3, so not all 3 of them, just 1 of those little packets. And I'm just going to stir the yeast in. So you just want to keep mixing until it is relatively smooth. It doesn't have to be perfect. The yeast is going to eat the starter. That's going to start the fermentation process. And that's going to create what gives that wonderful sourdough flavor and can also make your bread rise. Now, I have a video on here, how to make granny sourdough. And it uses 3 tablespoons or 3 packets of yeast. So that's not what's making my bread rise. It's just for the flavor. It does have such a nice flavor. Now, these are kind of going to dissolve anyway, but this will get going. And that's it. So I'm going to show you what this looks like. So that's it. I'm going to set it back here in the corner. My house is between 70 and 75. I'm going to get a clean cocktail out of the drawer. I'm going to cover it up. I'm going to set a timer on my phone for 24 hours. I'm not touching it for 24 hours. Hey everybody, it's been 24 hours. So let's take a look at our starter. Look at that. It's nice and bubbly. Oh, and it smells nice and sour. If you've ever messed with sourdough starter, you will recognize that smell right away. So what we do now is we stir this up, and it will reduce a lot. Because I don't want to waste any of it. And then I'm going to cover it with plastic. And every day for the next 6 days, I'm going to open the refrigerator, take off my top, stir it up, cover it back, and put it back in. And on day 7, it's ready to use. And that's it. That's all you have to do to make a starter. There are multiple kinds of starters, but this is the easiest one to make. Because really it's already made. You just want to keep it and let it continue to grow for another 6 days. Now, after 6 days, what do? You remove whatever you're going to use for your recipe, and as long as you still have a cup of starter left, you just feed it again. You feed it 1 cup of milk, 1 cup of flour, and a half a cup of sugar. You stir it up and you leave it on the counter from now on 12 hours, and then it's ready to go back in. It can be out for 24 hours if that works for your schedule better. So you'll never have to do 24 hours again after the first, but you want to feed it, let it have time to ferment, get going really good, and then you put it in the refrigerator, which slows it down so that it's ready to feed every 7 to 10 days. And that's it. Now you can make your very own sourdough starter and get to making bread or whatever you want to make. Thanks for tuning in to this Marty Knows Baking.